Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Couch Brotato Podcast. Coming up on today's show, you know something, Lloyd? Just when I thought you couldn't get any dumber, you go and pull something like this and totally redeem yourself. That's right, gang. Dumb and Dumber's coming up right now on the Couch Brotato Podcast.
Without a doubt, the most intelligent, enlightening motion picture experience of a lifetime.
G'day, mate.
I laughed till I stopped. A movie filled with actors, scenery, and talking. See it with someone who knows how to get to the theater.
Dance to the beat of a different drummer boy.
Provocative, compelling, and other big words.
I got worms.
Movies come and go, but this one's here right now. Dumb and Dumber. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, December 16th.
All right, welcome back to the Couch Brotato Podcast, a movie podcast where friends shoot the shit about their favorite movies. My name is Russ, and with me, as always, is my partner in crime, Adam. What's happening, man?
Oh, not much, Russ. Just, the daily grind. Happy to be here talking about movies instead.
Yeah, it seemed like schedules and work stuff kind of put a little bit of a delay on this one. And this was a movie that when we got towards like maybe September, October, I kind of like penciled in no, I didn't pencil it in. I put it in pen. Like we need to do this before the end of the year because anniversary's coming up. Today's movie we're talking about is the 1994 comedy classic Dumb and Dumber, starring Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. What was your first I like it a lot.
Yeah, my first experience with Dumb and Dumber. I'm gonna have to say I know it came out in '94, but I was 4 at the time. I think
next time we're just gonna do a movie that oh yeah, I went and seen that in the movie theater.
Right? Yeah. It has to be a newer movie. I'm a youngin', maybe. I don't know. I'm not that young, but I think it was in high school. I saw it on DVD. I think I've seen this movie a grand total, and don't hate me for this, I think I've seen this movie a grand total of 4 times. So it's not like one that I've revisited every year or anything. It's just one of those movies that, it existed. I thought it was funny. And we were talking before the podcast. Like when I first saw it, I thought it was like the funniest thing ever. I was in high school. I was like, and then a little bit later, I watched it again. Thought, it was funny, but it maybe wasn't as funny as I thought it was. Revisiting it this time was a blast, though. I think that my humor has changed a bit, matured a little bit. While this might not be a mature comedic romp, it is by far one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
You said you've seen this 4 times total?
Yeah, 4 times total.
Back in 94, I think I've talked about this a couple times when we've talked about movies that came out this year. Me and my buddy Jeff, we pretty much every weekend went to the movies. And in 94, towards the end of the year, there was pretty much Dumb and Dumber, the Santa Claus, and then Street Fighter were like the 3 supposed to be the 3 big movies of that holiday season. And I think me and Jeff, what we used to do is we used to buy a ticket for one movie and we would just make our rounds to the theaters, and if there's something we wanted to see, we would go watch it. And I think him and I actually, for one day, it was kind of snowy. There really wasn't anything to do. So we were just fuck it, we'll go to the movies. And I think we've seen Dumb and Dumber 3 times in one day.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's awesome for us, the movie theater and New Line Cinema. I don't think we are, but sometimes I felt guilt that we personally bankrupted the studio because the New Line's not really a thing anymore. And I'm just wondering if the $28 that me and Jeff deprived them of because we watched Dumb and Dumber 3 times in a day and only paid to see it once, if we may have contributed to that.
No, New Line. That's pre Lord of the Rings, so it definitely wasn't your fault.
Okay.
Guilt absolved.
Yeah. Well, maybe our $28 could have made the Hobbit movies a little better.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, if we just had $28 more, we can make this work.
Right.
But Dumb and Dumber, I will say that this is definitely my favorite movie of Jim Carrey's by like far. I loved early Jim Carrey stuff, Ace Ventura, The Mask, but this is to me like my favorite movie of his.
Okay.
I think in terms of like kind of like the juvenile toilet humor of the 90s, I think this is probably like the top of the mountain for that.
It's peak for sure. It's definitely on top. Probably not my favorite Jim Carrey movie, but it's up there. It's in top 5 at least.
But yeah, I mean, I think for me, this was probably like my go-to like comedy movie for years. I mean, like I think Dumb and Dumber was one of the first DVDs that I bought because the old Warner Brothers New Line movies used to be double-sided. And for a little bit, you had to flip it over to watch the other half of the movie.
Yeah.
But then they eventually smartened up, and then they changed it to where you could get widescreen on one side, and then you got regular on the full screen. But for those of you that have worked in a video store, sold movies, a lot of people call it the regular edition. But yeah, this thing got constant play on my DVD player.
Of the I don't know if this is a category later, so I don't know if I'm stepping on your toes, but of the buddy comedy movies like Cheech and Chong and Dude, Where's My Car, like, do you think like, I mean, I know Cheech and Chong definitely first, but do you think this is peak, buddy comedy?
I don't have it as like a Hall of Fame category, but you talking about like comedy duos?
Yeah.
I'm probably aging myself out here. I would say Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin.
Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin are good. You're not aging yourself at all. Those are timeless. I will always defend Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis.
Cheech and Chong.
Abbott and Costello, like, yeah.
Cheech and Chong, definitely. It seemed like the buddy movies kind of like, they seem to kind of like, after Martin and Lewis, I'm sure I'm probably missing somebody, but that seemed like that mismatched pair, like the comedy duo. They seem to have kind of molded that into the action genre, and they kind of like mismatch. Like, you got like, my favorite example is Midnight Run, but you got like the hard ass like former cop, and you've got like the sarcastic, smirky mob accountant that shouldn't be, in 99.9% of the time, would never interact with one another, and they're stuck together trying to get from New York to LA. Just that it's those kind of characters seemed to be more in the action realm.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like, I think that comedies in general have just shifted because of the way that Hollywood likes to bankroll movies now.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I agree. There's although I will say, Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor were really good. They would have to be on there. And I'm also going to say for newer fans, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are pretty awesome as a duo too. Yeah. So I would say Nick Frost and Simon Pegg would definitely be on my top 4. Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor would be on there. Carrey and Jeff Daniels, although a lot of people don't really remember Dumb and Dumber 2, and I think that kind of hurts them a little bit because those are the only 2 movies they've done together. But the strength of Dumb and Dumber puts Carrey and Daniels on there too.
Yeah.
And I think what makes it so great is you don't expect this out of Jeff Daniels at all.
Right.
And Jeff Daniels is like going toe to toe with Jim Carrey in this, and it's And my wife and I were watching this the other night, and she asked me who did I like more as a character, Jim Carrey's Lloyd or Jeff Daniels as Harry. And I actually like Harry more in this than I do Lloyd.
Yeah, no, he's great, and he's a little bit conniving in the middle there. But yeah, no, I like it. I like it a lot.
Well, I actually just looked it up, and we also left off Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, and we left off Farley and Spade.
Both very good, and
Mathau and Jack Lemmon.
Maybe it's going to be a Couch Potatoes podcast later on the top 10 comedic duos in movies.
Oh, we'll have to now. I mean,
yeah,
we've kind of we painted ourselves into a corner because I can't believe that we completely forgot about like 4 or 5 of those duos. And
right
now
we're gonna have to we're gonna have to redeem ourselves now.
I mean, I'm just thinking now, like there's I think Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill are incredible together too. I mean, I think
they're great.
Which we need to do one of the Jump Street movies at some point too. But yeah, it blows me away how great Jeff Daniels is in this. And I think Carrey's the more conniving one. I think Harry just kind of gets pressured into going on the date.
Yeah.
With Mary.
Yeah.
And ends up, they have fun.
Yeah. I think Lloyd doesn't mean to pressure him into things like the whole diner scene. I think he's just too dumb to realize that he's doing that to his friend, versus Harry actually planning to go on the date and then like get rid of Lloyd.
Mm-hmm. He's actually kind of smart though how he does it. He's like we're gonna meet at the bar at 10 a.m. and then he goes out and does his own thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if back in my day, if I would have been so mad at one of my friends, I would have essentially dumped a half a bottle of a laxative into a cup of tea, though, gave it to him. I don't hate anybody that much.
Yeah, I don't think I would ever like consciously do that to somebody, especially like, I'll do that one time and then somebody will tell me like, oh yeah, they went to the hospital. They ruptured their bowels. Like, oh, whoops.
Oh, I would feel horrible about that.
Yeah. No, it'd be my luck.
Although I will say that it's crossed my mind a time or two to do that to somebody.
Just, intrusive thoughts. Sometimes they're healthy. They're healthy outlets.
Well, hey, you want to knock out some of these categories?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right. The Dumb and Dumber. If you're wondering what in the fuck Dumb and Dumber is about, this is the story of Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn, who are two good-natured but incredibly stupid friends who find themselves in the middle of a kidnapping plot while driving across the United States to return a client's briefcase.
Yep, that is what the fuck it's about.
Tail to tape, this is rated PG-13, released on December the 16th, 1994, which today, as we record this, is the anniversary of Dumb and Dumber. So,
that's excellent. It's excellent timing.
I should have postmated you a cupcake from somewhere. We could have celebrated together as we did this, like blew out a candle, like happy anniversary, Dumb and Dumber. Send them like a Cuisinart mixer or something.
Yeah, what is the 30th anniversary? I don't even know.
I don't know either. I haven't crossed it yet, so I don't know.
It's not like paper or anything. It's got to be something more fancy.
Yeah. Oh, I'd say like a nice. We'll send them a TV.
Yeah, or a casserole.
Yeah. That's a broad spectrum. We'll just send them both. A tuna casserole and an Amazon Fire TV. This stars Jim Carrey, Jeff Daniels, Lauren Holly, Charles Rocket, Mike Starr, Karen Duffy, and Terry Garr. Directed by Peter Farrelly, which for the longest time I thought Peter and Bobby directed this together, but they didn't. It's just Peter is the director of this one. Rotten Tomatoes score of 67% from critics, 87% from audiences. The consensus from critics is a relentlessly stupid comedy elevated by its main actors, Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. Carrey goes bonkers, and Jeff Daniels carries himself admirably in an against-type performance. The box office budget of $17 million grossed $247.3 million, making this the sixth highest grossing movie of 1994.
Not bad.
Right now, you cannot stream this anywhere, which I was incredibly shocked by. It's not on Max, not on Amazon Prime. Nobody has it for streaming. You can buy it or rent it on Apple Movies, Vudu, Fandango now, whatever the hell they're called now. Amazon Prime, wherever you rent or buy digital movies, you can watch it on that.
Which, that's fine, but the fact that you can't stream it is dumb and dumber.
Yeah, and dumbest. And I did mention the awards. This didn't win any awards.
Well, it won our hearts.
It did. Sometimes that's all that matters.
Yeah.
You don't need a piece of metal to prove your worth. And that should be the life lesson from this movie and any movie that we do that has not won any major awards.
Right. It'll win awards from us. I don't know if that'll mean as much, but it definitely will.
Did you know these are some fun and interesting tidbits about the production and behind the scenes of the movie? This movie spawned a 2003 prequel, Dumb and Dumberer. Did you see that one by chance?
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Neither have I. Once I seen it, like, no Daniels or no Carrey, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm sure it's going to suck. And from what I've seen from the Rotten Tomatoes scores, it kind of does.
Might as well not waste our time.
They did make a 2014 sequel called Dumb and Dumber 2, spelled T-O, which did bring back Carrey and Daniels, which wasn't a fan of that one.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same charm.
Yeah, I think they were too late. Because, they did it 20 years later, and I remember watching it, and it was just like, man, it's probably one of the most disappointing movie experiences I've ever had. Because I was really looking forward to seeing it. I was like, oh man, them two back together. They got the whole gang back, and just like,
yeah, didn't deliver. I think that Hollywood does that a lot nowadays, though, too, is they like to nostalgia bait their audience. And even if it's some like franchise that hasn't been alive for very long, that hasn't been alive for so long, they just revive it and try and nostalgia bait their audience into going to see the movie, even if it's not good.
Yeah. Are you listening, Disney?
Yeah. Disney's the worst culprit.
Mm-hmm. And there was an animated television series, which I completely forgot about, but they did have a cartoon.
I had no idea that this is the first time hearing about it. That's fantastic. Is it good?
I remember it being okay.
Okay.
It was just one of those things where I may have caught it a time or two. Because when this movie come out, I'm going to be real with you. Like, I wasn't getting up super early to watch Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair. In my experience, though, and this is coming from watching these as a kid and also watching some as an adult, when it comes to like movies that spawn animated series, usually they knock it out of the park. Like Batman, the animated series, Beetlejuice was really good. Even Godzilla, the early 2000s Godzilla movie that came out after the 1999 film was pretty good. Probably better than the movie in most people's eyes. But yeah, animated series that have been created after movies just tend to be good, in my opinion. Even Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters animated series.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I do remember that one too. I don't know if you could stream it anywhere, but I'm sure that if you can find it on YouTube, give it a watch. The animation was really weird. It has a a Dexter's Laboratory vibe.
Okay.
In
Yeah,
terms
I
of the
can
way
get
it's
behind that
animated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it ran on CBS for like a year.
Okay.
But it
Running
just,
for a year is not bad.
whenever I hear that like I remember they turn like movie franchises or movies into like cartoons, I always remember them running a lot longer than they actually do.
Yeah.
Because even that Beetlejuice cartoon, like, man, I think it was on for like 5 or 6 years, I think. And like, nope, it was just on a year and a half.
Yeah. I feel like time has been distorted for me the older that I get. But yeah, no, it's the same for me as well. I tend to like all the animated series, though. I think that just because it's not like a super long running show doesn't mean it's a bad show. It just, they were able to tell their story within that year and a half.
I think with this one, though, there's only so many adventures you can put them two into where it's like, okay, this has ran its course. Let's move on.
Yeah. Agreed.
This next one I thought was incredibly fascinating. The original screenplay began as a concept written by John Hughes.
Huh. Okay.
John Hughes wrote 50 pages, and then he hired the Farrelly brothers and Bennett Yellen, gave them the 50 pages and told them to come back when they worked out the plot. And then I guess they went and did their thing, came back to Hughes, and he loved it, and he told him to go write the script. But by the time they got the script done, Hughes' studio deal ran out.
Oh,
I didn't catch what studio he had to deal with. I'm guessing it's probably Fox, because I know he had done a lot of stuff with Fox. But I guess the Farrellys and Yellen went to Hughes and said, like, hey, can we do something with this? And I guess Hughes gave his blessing for them to go pitch it, try to make it into a movie, but he couldn't have his name attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
So they eventually got it made by New Line.
All right.
Which we discussed in our Planes, Trains, and Automobiles episode, which you can listen to on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Cheap plug of the episode, 21 minutes in.
Man, we're slacking this week.
We slacked today.
Yeah.
But yeah, John Hughes is probably like one of the absolute greatest comedy writers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his writing resume alone reads like the back of a baseball, like a Mickey Mantle baseball card, just like, Jesus, he did this, he did this, he did this. I'm like, but yeah, listen to that episode to kind of get more of a rundown of what he did. But let's just say Home Alone, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That's just the three.
Right.
This is the feature film debut of the Farrelly brothers, who, I don't know, well, we'll get into that later, but Farrelly brothers have done this movie. They did Kingpin, which I absolutely adore.
Oh, yeah. Great movie.
And then they also done There's Something About Mary, which you can also listen to on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. It's the second one we've gotten in just alone in the last 2 minutes. We're doing pretty good now.
Yeah, we're on a roll.
Eventually they, I think, was it Peter or Bobby won an Oscar for Green Book, which is probably going to go down as one of the worst Best Picture winners of all time. Yeah, get 20 years down the road. Yeah, I can't remember which one had won for that. I can't remember either. I don't give a shit. I watched it once and was like, oh, this is okay. And then, I will never watch it again. But I watched their comedy stuff. They also did Me, Myself, and Irene, too, which was their fourth movie.
Mm-hmm.
Also fantastic film, too. Gary Oldman and Nicolas Cage were the Farrelly brothers' original choices for Lloyd and Harry.
I thought that I saw that as well, and I thought that was strange.
Yeah. I guess Cage was still in the running to play Harry after they brought Jim Carrey on board.
Okay. I can see it. I mean, if you've seen Vampire's Kiss or, Deadfall, he could pull it off.
Now this is before Nicolas Cage kind of became like an AA lister, because this is before Leaving Las Vegas, and this is before he parlays that into like a pretty solid run of action movies. But he tried to negotiate a $2 million raise, and they basically told him to take a hike.
Yeah, that's a big raise.
And then this I kind of can see it because it makes sense now. But I guess Jim Carrey and the Fairleys wanted Jeff Daniels, but New Line was totally against it because prior to this, Jeff Daniels was kind of known as a dramatic actor.
Yeah.
Terms of Endearment, Something Wild. He was in Speed like earlier this year, among other things. And I guess
which you can also listen to on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast.
Damn, we've got 3 in like 3 minutes, man. And you said we were slacking.
Yeah.
New Line, I guess, sent him an offer of $50,000 and hoped that basically like, oh, you're only offering me $50,000. You guys can go fuck yourselves. But instead, it backfired and Jeff Daniels took it.
Sure, why not?
And as I was reading that too, I guess his agents didn't want him to do it because they thought it was going to kill his career. And they even called him the night when they were they're basically like doing costume fittings.
Mm-hmm.
They called him the night they were doing the costume fittings, which when they do that, it's typically they're getting ready to go into production, like within like the week. They told him that they could still get him out of it. And he was dead set on doing it.
Like, nope, I'm doing this. You can't convince me otherwise. Yeah.
And then, of course, I mean, Jeff Daniels looks like a fucking genius now.
Yeah.
The chip in Lloyd Christmas's front tooth is an actual injury that Jim Carrey suffered as a child in a schoolyard street fight. And I guess apparently before filming, like right before filming started, he popped the prosthetic cap off his tooth because he wanted the character to look more, I thought I had it written down, but I guess he wanted the character to look more crazy.
Yeah.
So he popped it off.
He is a little bit crazy about Mary, so there's just something about Mary.
Yeah, the Fairley brothers love that character name too. And I honestly never put 2 and 2 together until I was researching this because I have only seen this movie once or twice. But the scene where they scam sea bass to pick up their checks. Yeah. And then when they're driving down the road, Lloyd's telling Harry that he got the idea from a movie that he'd seen. The movie is Something Wild, which stars Jeff Daniels.
Okay. All right.
Which I remember that movie being good. Has Melanie Griffin, and I think it has Ray Liotta in it too. And I haven't seen it in ages, so I'm probably going to revisit that one at some point. Last one I have is when this movie was released, it was the #1 movie at the box office its opening weekend, which gave Jim Carrey the distinction of being the first actor to have 3 films go to #1 at the box office for 1 calendar year.
Okay.
So he had Ace Ventura, I think in February, which we also did an Ace Ventura episode, which you can listen to on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. He did The Mask, and then he did this one.
Man, he was on a streak there, wasn't he?
I think it's probably one of the greatest years any actor has ever had.
Yeah. I can't think of anything like any actor that comes anywhere near that in just quantity alone, let alone quality.
Yeah, like the only ones, like I was looking it up. Jamie Foxx, the year he did Ray and Collateral, he got nominated for both of those movies for Oscars, and they were both pretty substantial hits. But I don't think, having 3 movies open at #1, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
I mean, the only actor director I can think of that would have something as monumental was Spielberg's 93. Yeah, when he did Jurassic Park and then he did Schindler's List, he had the highest grossing movie of the year, and he had the Oscar winning Best Picture. He was the best director that year.
It almost drove him mad too, going between both of those. He was like, super happy and energetic on Jurassic Park, and then he would just like be depressed after.
Well, that's quite it's quite opposite ends of the spectrum. I mean, you're basically like a kid in a candy store, like, oh shit, I get to play with dinosaurs. And then it's like, oh my god, you're dealing with like the worst
of humanity
yeah,
ever.
The absolute, like, the depths of like how evil people can be. It's just like, my god. Yeah, that would fuck with my head too. I would have taken a couple like, all right, I got my hardware, I've got the critical acclaim, I got the biggest movie of the year, like I'm taking a step back for a little bit. I gotta recalibrate myself.
Gotta decompress after that.
Right. That's all I've got for fun facts. What do you got?
All right. So, first one, which you're normally the person that does the, could be cast.
The casting couch.
Yeah. Steve Martin and Martin Short both turned down the role of Lloyd.
Really?
I think that would, yeah.
Now, I think they may have been able to pull off. Those two may have been able to pull off Lloyd and Harry together.
Yeah.
Steve Martin's proven it. He could do it in The Jerk.
Yeah. Oh man, See, if they were either Harry or Lloyd, I think that that kind of defeats the Dumb and Dumber concept a little bit. People would go into it and be like, oh, this is just a rehash of The Jerk. This isn't right,
Yeah.
Second one I had. Now I like to include some goofs in my fun facts. I haven't recently, but I added a couple this time because we compared notes before this, and we had a couple of the same facts. So, one of the goofs that they did. So the officer at the scene of Mental's death report that Harry and Lloyd were last seen headed west on I-80 towards Colorado. I-80 does not go through Colorado at any point, and it passes north of the state through Nebraska and Wyoming. So
keep that in mind, travelers, if you're heading that way.
Right. Not going through Colorado. The song that Harry and Lloyd sing after picking up Mental is the same one that the Griswolds sing when they begin their road trip to Wally World in Vacation.
Mock see. That scene cracks me up.
It's a great scene. Speaking of which, we have to figure that out later. I have so many. This movie was included among the American Film Institute's 2000 list of 500 movies nominated for the top 100 funniest American movies. I think that it cracks the top 100 for sure.
Oh yeah, easily.
Let's see. The dinner scam scene. This is another goof. Lloyd tells Harry about the movie he saw, which we now know what movie that is. When he mentions the guy getting his throat slit, you can hear Harry speeding the car up. Just know, I want to get away from this. But the background outside does not speed up at all. Just the engine revs harder, I guess.
It's like, okay, you're giving it enough gas. It's fine.
You've reached top speed of what this thing can do. Yeah, those are all the facts. Oh, one more fact. Jeff Daniels once joked that the toilet scene is his Oscar clip.
I did see something about that Clint Eastwood ran into him at a golf course and basically made a comment like, "Yeah, I've been there." How awesome is that? Like Clint Eastwood of all people, like, "Yeah, I've had explosive diarrhea."
Could you imagine just him and his timbre saying that, just like serious? Just says it serious as fuck. Just like, I've had explosive diarrhea. It made my day.
I've had the trots a time or two, and our Clint Eastwoods are absolutely horrible.
They are.
We really need to work on those.
Yep.
All right. Good stuff. Next category is the Martin Scorsese This Is Cinema Award for the best scene of the movie. Now, this one's pretty hard for me.
Yeah, no, it was hard for me too. I picked 3. So
okay, I'm just gonna run down some of my favorites real quick. I love the scene where Harry's trying to get the dogs to the dog show.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, he comes back with a food order, and the little Chihuahua comes because that's the one that won the foot long. That one cracks me up.
Yeah.
I love the whole limo ride to the airport when Lloyd picks up Mary, takes her to the airport. I do get a kick out of that one. That one's pretty good. I do like the man. This one's really tough. I think for me, my favorite scene, and it's the one that makes me laugh. It's later on in the movie. It basically it's the whole Lloyd or Harry and Mary's second date, where he comes to her house and then his stomach starts growling. Of course, you get the infamous bathroom scene where prior to Daniels gets a cup of tea and Lloyd basically just dumps like at least a half a bottle of fucking laxative into this. And like, I don't understand how he didn't taste that, but of course he's dumb, so he probably didn't pick up on it. The whole sequence is funny, but it also has, and this scene actually makes me laugh more than the toilet scene, is when Mary's waiting on him in the kitchen and she's watching a current affair, and they talk about this a moment that is preceded earlier in the movie where Jim Carrey earned a couple extra bucks for the trip, sells a blind kid their dead parakeet who Menthol had ripped its head off earlier in the movie, and Jim Carrey tapes it with looks like Scotch tape. It sells it to the blind kid.
The blind kid just like, I just thought it was really quiet.
That was going to be my favorite scene in the movie. I still laugh out loud every time.
Oh man, that definitely, man, that definitely makes me laugh too every time. It's probably gonna beat one of mine, but I had 3 because I just couldn't pick. So my first pick is the chili restaurant scene where Mental dies. Just because the amount of funny things that you can do with something like that is spicy is just fantastic. And then they're building up this whole like gastrointestinal problem with Mental the entire time. He has to take pills like every 5 minutes and he has an ulcer. You know, I don't think I've ever heard of anyone dying from an ulcer, but apparently like this chili was super hot. So maybe, I don't know.
Well, he doesn't die from the peppers. They give him the rat poison.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Because they just find a container of pills, and he was going to give them rat poison, and instead they give it to him.
That's right. Yeah. But either way, like that scene was just super funny, and he hams it up on that death scene too. Like that, man.
I always get a kick out of it when he spits the burger out. He just goes like,
yeah. And the next one that I had was let's see here. I liked the bike ride montage, like the scene from up to where they go their separate ways, and then the last time that we see them both together. They're, angry at each other. And then it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, I sold the car and now we have this bike, and it's just like the dinkiest clown bike.
It's a little moped.
Yeah, a little moped. And they're like, yeah, I think you did a great job.
He goes, just when I think you couldn't get any dumber, you go and totally redeem yourself. And they try to
ride in on and then they ride in on this dinky little bike through the mountains, and you just see this like time lapse montage of them just getting more and more frozen, and then like the snot from their nose is getting frozen to their face.
And Jeff Daniels has to piss, and then he ends up pissing, and then he ends up getting stuck to Harry too, or Lloyd too.
Yeah, it's just like he's just like, just go. Oh, that's warm. Always makes me laugh. And then the last one that I had was the entire end scene with the antagonist and the Kevlar, and go ahead, shoot him. And then he gets shot, and he's like, oh no.
Yeah, I don't know why that makes me laugh, but just Jim Carrey going for it. Like he's trying to get his Oscar movie because you killed my best friend, you bastard.
But yeah, no, I think you're right. It's out of left field. You kind of forget about it, and then the bird comes back into play, and I think that has to win.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you shouldn't laugh because like this poor blind kid's been duped by an adult, and I just can't help it, man. Like you shouldn't laugh because this poor kid just gets fucking scammed.
Yeah,
but you can't help it because, I mean, for one thing, the bird's got Scotch tape around its neck to hold it together.
I think it helps too. After you learn that the bird got sold, the blind kid's like sitting there petting the bird, like pretty bird, pretty bird.
That bird may come back in a later conversation about this movie, just as an FYI.
Oh, I think you and I have the same idea then, but we'll get there.
So are we going with the whole like Harry and Mary's second date, the whole scene?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. The Andy Dufresne Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying award for the best or most quotable line of the movie. There's a lot of good ones in here. I actually chose it's right after they leave the scene of the chili restaurant.
Yeah.
And Lloyd just kind of says, he goes, 1 minute you're chewing on a burger, the next minute you're dead meat. That's probably the smartest thing he says in the entire movie. And it makes perfect sense. And like it's literally a metaphor for life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's just seriously one of those things like you never know what's going to happen. And I was like, it never really struck me till I watched it this last time. I was like, fuck, like that's actually kind of deep for this guy.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But I mean, there's so many like my brother and I have said this to each other for years. Like if my wife actually has the same problem. Like we have problems with our hands getting cold, like really cold, super easy. And whenever my brother, like if he happens to like shake my hand or gives me a high five or something like that, or if like I just playfully like try to choke, just horsing around, he always says, "Harry, your hands are freezing."
You had a second pair of gloves that whole time. It's cold outside.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of quotable lines. I got a lot of mileage in this. I mean, mine's just the burger comment, just because like it's totally out of left field for either one of these guys. But It's not it's not the best, but it's my personal favorite. But what do you got?
So the most memeable and the most well-known, I think, just because it's been on the internet for so very long, it's so ubiquitous, is "So You're Telling Me There's a Chance."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's
that's
pretty much
like,
it came back around. Now it's pretty much a GIF or a GIF now or whatever.
Yeah. I say GIF, but that's not a debate for this podcast.
No.
I also had another one, and I picked this one because you and I have said it a lot, is the "I'm not seeing it here, Lloyd."
Yep.
When he's looking at the book.
Yep, that one too. I think that one just gets a lot of mileage out of our friend group.
Yeah. It deserves an honorable mention, even if it's not the best or most quotable line. It's my most quotable line. So yeah,
I needed a screwdriver Saturday and I couldn't find it. And my son was like, "Hey, Dad," he goes, "I seen the screwdriver in the drawer." And I was like, "I'm not seeing it here, Lloyd." And he didn't get the gist of it. I'm like, "Fuck, man. Like, I need to introduce this kid to this movie."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm giving it to that simply because like it's not the most quotable line of the movie. It's probably "So You're Telling Me There's a Chance," but for us, it's "I'm not seeing it here, Lloyd." Just because
I like it.
30 years later, we're still like, it's like that old shit box. We've taken it to the shop. We've get its daily mileage, and we're still like, that beater still getting us from point A to point B.
Right.
So I'm going with that one.
Okay. All right.
Those of you listening to this, feel free to like put your own in it, because there's a lot of quotable stuff in here. The McLovin Award for the best or most scene-stealing performer.
Oh, the McLovin. You know what? We're going to bring back something that we used to do.
I am McLovin.
Yep. There we go. Sound effects. We're churching it up here for you guys tonight, gang. This is a very special episode of the Couch Brotato Podcast. If this were in the 90s, this would be like on a very special Couch Brotato Podcast episode. The McLovin's coming back with sound effects. I didn't really have one because it's essentially Carrey, Daniels, and Holly, and then I guess you get Mike Starr and Karen Duffy, and then Charles Rocket, and then everyone else kind of pops in for a moment or two. But
I mean, they did have a lot of screen time, but I chose one of the minor characters because the majority of the time we're seeing either Mary or our two heroes. So,
who did you have?
I had Mike Starr.
Yeah, I'd probably be the choice.
Yeah. Like most comedic duos will have like, the serious straight guy and then the wacky funny one. Much like, Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis. But this one didn't. Both of them were wacky and funny and stupid because it's Dumb and Dumber, right? So they have to have a straight man in there somewhere. And I think that's where he plays to his strengths here. Is like he's able, even with them acting the most ridiculous around him, he's able to pull off serious mobster vibes the entire time.
He says some funny shit too, like to straight his face. Like I love that scene where they leave him the note after they abandon their apartment. And he goes, "Dear Gas Man, we left for Aspen." He goes, "Gas Man, how do they know I got gas?" But I would give it to him. Karen Duffy, I used to have the biggest crush on her. She used to be an MTV VJ. She kind of, I don't know. She's just kind of going for it. And like, she's in almost like she's in a different movie. And Charles Rocket, I'm just,
Yeah.
They could have done without the whole kidnapper at all. And like, I would have been totally cool with it.
Yeah. I
will give I will special nominee. He's only in it for like a hot minute, but Harlan Williams as the state trooper that pulls him over and drinks the piss that Lloyd has just pissed. Like he's really good in that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I got some mileage out of that too. And I had to take like medicine and it was really bad. I always did that. You know, that little thing that he does when he realizes it's not beer, he's got piss.
Like how it's probably like as warm as if you put a beer in the microwave. And he's still like holding the bottle and he's about to take a sip. Like it's definitely
if someone would have
cold.
handed me a beer that was hot, I would have nope, I'm good, man. Because there's nothing worse than a hot beer. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. But he definitely
maybe
hams
a
it
hot
up
bottle of piss.
Right.
I'm totally cool giving that to Mike Starr though.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, it's special shout out to Harlan Williams though. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
The Dean Winters, Who's That Guy Gal award for the performer you've seen in a movie, but you don't know their name. My nominee's Lynn Shay.
Okay.
Lynn Shay, she plays Mrs. Noogie Burger. But he ends up calling her name's Noogborn, but he calls it Noogie Burger.
Yeah.
Lynn Shay was actually, her brother is Robert Shay, who was the president of New Line Cinema.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he launched New Line after Nightmare on Elm Street. But she is probably best known from the Insidious franchise.
Okay, yeah.
And then she was also the landlady in Kingpin, which is in terms of like funniest gross out moments, she's on the Mount Rushmore for that. And then she's also Magda in There's Something About Mary.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
But she's in a lot of the Farrelly Brothers movies. I don't remember her in Me, Myself, and Irene though. I'm sure she's in there because I think she's kind of like their Samuel L. Jackson to Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Because they got like 5 or 6 guys that they feature in pretty much everything. But that's my nominee.
Okay. Again, I'm probably showing how much of a baby I am. But when I watch this movie, every time I recognize Charles Rocket, and I'm like, okay, I know that guy. I've seen him in a lot of things, and I've probably seen him in more than I'm listing now. But every time I figure out what it is, it's like, oh yeah, that's the dad in Hocus Pocus. Okay, like I knew I saw him from somewhere. Like he looks super familiar every time I see him, but his voice also sounds familiar too. So he's done a whole bunch of voiceover work for like DC animated features and like anime like Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that. So me being the baby that I am, I know him mostly from animated stuff. So and Hocus Pocus. So that is my nominee.
See, I only remember Charles Rocket from Saturday Night Live.
Oh yeah, he was on. There you go.
Yeah, he was on. What year was it? I think it was the 84 or 85 season. It's the one that had where pretty much Joe Piscopo and Eddie Murphy carried the entire show because it was like one of the worst seasons of all time. And the next year, pretty much everyone got let go.
Yeah.
And I remember him from this. Like I've only seen Hocus Pocus once or twice. Halloween fans, chill out. Don't come at me with the pitchforks and I've only seen it once or twice, and I would have never put him as the dad in Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
Which, fun fact for you, that was a movie when we were doing Halloween movies last year that like I was getting the full court press to do that one.
Yeah.
Like, you need to do Hocus Pocus. And I said, no, I don't. This is my show. You want to talk about Hocus Pocus? You do your own fucking podcast, okay? I'm going to say that I'm going to go with Lynn Shay on this one, simply because like she's for me anyway. She's been in more things, and
she's been in more things. You're right, and then my things are more like voiceover, so like it's not necessarily you see it and then you recognize.
Yeah, I would recognize his voice before I'd recognize the face. A fun fact about Charles Rocket.
What's that?
It's not really a fun fact, but he's dead now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude looked young in 1994, so he couldn't be like too old now, right?
Well, he's not aging anymore, Adam, because he's passed away.
Correct. You are absolutely 100% correct there. But how old was he when he passed away?
I'm looking it up now. He died 2005.
Dang. Okay, so not long after, like 10, 11 years after this movie.
Yeah. Well, he died. This is the Wikipedia description. His death. Rocket was found dead in a field on his Connecticut property on October the 7th, 2005, with his throat slit.
What the fuck?
He was 56 years old. 10 days later, the state medical examiner ruled the death a suicide. The police investigation determined that there was no criminal aspect to the case.
Dude, I'm not trying to be like dark or morbid or anything here, but if I were to do a suicide, I would not have the guts to slit my own throat.
I think in terms of like the ways that I would go about taking my own life, if I ever got to that point, I think slitting my own throat would probably be at the very like, well, this hasn't worked yet. All right, I guess I got to go this route now. And we're not trying to make fun of suicide. Don't get us wrong, folks. Very horrible thing. But yeah, that's just, man, that's
I couldn't
crazy
think I could
that happened.
Right. That's what I mean is like, yeah, definitely not making fun of anything. It's just like, I can't even imagine that.
Right. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, like I knew he died, but I think he was a pretty heavy smoker. And I thought like, I mean, the way he was just like lighting them up on Dumb and Dumber, I'm like, man, he probably died of like lung cancer or something like that. Not like that totally, when I looked that up, like, fuck, like that.
That's crazy. That is super crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So now I feel like a real shithead for trying to make a joke about that. But, oh well. Can't take it back now. The most 1994 moment of the movie.
Let's see. The most 1994 moment of the movie. There's not a lot that dates this movie. It actually holds up really well. Maybe the wardrobe of some people. The fact that he can run through the airport without TSA like tackling him with the briefcase.
That's a very good one. I had that under consideration. However, being a little bit older than you, the mention of the Menendez brothers on the television program A Current Affair.
That's true. Yeah, they did mention the Menendez brothers. Yeah, definitely 1994 moment.
Yeah, 90 the early 90s. That was when we had A Current Affair and we had Hard Copy.
Mm-hmm.
And we had Inside Edition, I believe, which Inside Edition still standing. Deborah Norville, rocking it still.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it outlasted.
But yeah, like I remember Hard Copy and A Current Affair. Like those were like, my mom watched the shit out of those programs too.
Yeah,
like my mom she loved tabloid TV.
Oh yeah, no, my mom and my grandmother were like, especially like during the O.J. Simpson trial, like that was on constantly.
Between the Menendez brothers, and then like it seemed like once that settled, oh, here comes OJ.
Yeah.
It's like a wrestling maneuver, like, oh, the Menendez brothers are about to win the world title. Oh, here comes OJ with a steel chair. But yeah, that dates it to 1994 is a current affair.
Yeah.
With the because they make the Menendez they make a mention of their attorney and their murder case. So yeah, I think when this was being filmed is when that whole retrial was going on.
Yeah. Nope, that definitely takes the cake for putting it in the 90s.
The Indiana Jones, It Belongs in a Museum Award for the prop you'd most want for your collection.
I think everybody knows what we're going to pick at this point.
Do tell.
All right. So mine's going to be the decapitated bird.
Yep. I had that. That was the first one I picked. I had Petey with the scotch tape around his head.
Yeah. It's definitely a talking point if somebody comes over to your house and they're like, why do you have a decapitated bird with scotch tape?
I think most people, if you were to ask them this question, they're obviously going to say that the tuxedos would be their pick, which I think that's for a rational human being that would be the logical choice.
I mean, even the briefcase full of the money, or even the briefcase full of IOUs, honestly, that would be better.
Yeah, or even an IOU itself.
Yeah.
But I have Petey the bird.
Yeah, Petey the bird.
Runner up was Seabass's Wine 'em Dine 'em 69 hat.
Seabass, while an angry and vulgar person, has some classy headwear. That's for sure.
Did you know that Seabass is actually a former NHL hockey player?
I did not know that.
That is Boston Bruins legend Cam Neely.
Oh, okay.
And little fun fact, I saved this one because I knew I was going to bring up the hat. That was supposed to be Roger Clemens.
Oh.
But he couldn't work out a schedule because I think they were either in the middle of the season or they were in spring training when they filmed that. And he couldn't get out of it to film that scene, so he had to decline. But he ends up showing up as Skidmark in Kingpin.
Yeah, I mean, I think both movies turned out pretty good though. So
every time I see that scene with Seabass where he's about to assault Jim Carrey in the bathroom stall, it reminds me of that. Not gonna name any names, but a particular gentleman we used to work with. Whenever he would try to talk to one of our female coworkers, that guitar riff of Doom.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I could see that for sure. Every time I think of the character, I always think of that gnarly like loogie that he hawks onto the burger, and it's just like, I don't know if he was dipping or what, but it
looks fucking even worse in high def, man. Because like when you watch that on an old tube TV, it looked like it was just when if you've been like running around or working out, like your saliva's and you spit's like really like white and dry.
Yeah,
but I don't know if they cleaned it up like for green. 4K, but it's a greenish color. I'm like, oh, that's fucking gross.
It's nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if Jim Cameron had anything to do with that. It's like, Jim, can you just touch this up a little bit? Or George Lucas? Like, it was white in the film print.
You zoom in and it's actually Jabba the Hutt that he's spitting out of his mouth. Just a tiny little version of Jabba the Hutt.
Oh my God, it's got a hut in his mouth. The John Williams Award for Best Use of Music in the Movie. What do you got? I think I have a pretty good one.
I didn't have anything for this, honestly. I was trying to tweak my notes so much that I accidentally deleted what I had previously, and I don't remember what it was. So.
Fear not, old friend. I've got a contender here. I nominated Pretty Woman by Roy Orbison during the whole getting ready for the gala montage
Oh
scene.
yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Yeah, no, that's really good.
I do want to give an honorable mention though. I forget. I think it's it's in the diner scene where right after Seabass, like right after Jeff Daniels can't eat his burger. I never picked up on this, but the song that plays, and I don't remember what the name of the song is called, but the lyric that they play is 2 foot of butt crack is all that I see.
Oh my God. Oh, okay. We're going to have to look up and see what that was now.
And then there's also Red Right Hand that is played when after they lose their jobs and Lloyd goes on that spending spree and he gets his wallet trapped inside the the Rhode Island slut.
Yeah.
That also is something that is very 1994 is those like little they're not newspaper stands, but like the little
like magazine dispensers, or like the ones that have like the paper publications.
Yeah. Like now I think they just have like Auto Traders and stuff in them, but yeah, that's a very 1994 thing too. Like big cities used to have some of those.
So that song is actually called 2 foot of butt crack by Circle the Wagons and Bruce Greenwood.
Oh, nice.
So yeah.
If it played longer, I would totally give it, but you only get the quick snippet of it. And I think the Crash Test Dummies and I don't know, it's called like or the song that they play when Lloyd and Harry go their separate ways.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm gonna go Pretty Woman because that montage scene's pretty funny, especially where they essentially have to take a sandblaster to Lloyd's toenails.
And they're just like, oh my God.
Because I always tease people that I don't wear flip flops or sandals because I think I have hideous looking gargoyle feet, but Jim Carrey's feet in that movie make me like consider putting my feet on OnlyFans.
Yeah,
by how bad
they look like the feet that you would imagine a gargoyle would have, or like Igor, the assistant of Dr. Frankenstein, like if he took off his shoes.
It looks like the gargoyles that are on the top of that church in Batman from '89.
Yep,
which you can also listen to on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast.
Or the devil dogs that are in Ghostbusters, their claws. That's exactly what it looks like. Also a movie that you can listen to wherever you get your podcasts.
Damn, we're fucking on a roll tonight, man. But yeah, I'm giving it to Pretty Woman.
Perfect.
Brand new category that I decided to introduce. And I thought of this one simply because I see it on social media all the time. People will ask this question: if you could keep one cast member and then recast the rest of it with Muppets, who would it be?
I love this category. So I've been thinking about this since you told me that it was going to be on here, and I was like going through my mind the entire time. I would really like it to be Mental, but he dies, so you can't have him be in the rest of the movie because then it's just the Muppets. But I think that Mary would be a good pick, or one of the duo. I don't know though, because I don't know which one I would pick to be the human.
See, I picked keep Jim Carrey, recast the rest of it with Muppets, simply so we could get a Muppet doing the diarrhea scene.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that would be great. Man, I could just see a Jeff Daniels Muppet having explosive diarrhea.
And Jeff Daniels' character actually looks like he could be a Muppet with his shaggy hair and...
Yeah. Yep. Man, that dog car is basically a Muppet. All it is carpet.
Yeah, it really is. And that would have been my pick for the prop that I would totally take if it met the criteria.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's always the vehicle every time.
But maybe we ought to introduce another new category, like best vehicle in the movie.
Yeah, but man, that would be so cool if like if that Mental actually survived the rest of the movie, like having this serious mobster guy surrounded by Muppet. It just is reminiscent of Muppet's Christmas Carol, where the only serious actor is Michael Caine as Scrooge. So you got Mental.
Michael Caine's fucking bringing his A game in that too. Like he is.
Yeah.
Anytime I think of Ebenezer Scrooge, Michael Caine's always my first pick. Like if we're doing an Ebenezer Scrooge draft, it's Michael Caine.
Yeah. Number one, like he's, top of the chart. Like no one even comes close.
I'd say Michael Caine's top of the food chain for anybody named Scrooge. The only competition he's got would be Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, and even then, like, nah. Like Scrooge McDuck is like 10 tiers below him.
Yeah, Scrooge McDuck's got a heart of gold.
Yeah.
So are we keeping Jim Carrey then?
Yeah, we'll keep Jim Carrey and then replace the rest with Muppets. Even though I'd like to see the version with Mental being the only human, but
I would like to a Muppet ripping heaters would be pretty cool though too. So we keep him as a Muppet. That'd be kind of cool to see him like just delivering those lines like deadpan serious too. Like,
how do you know I have gas?
Or just even at Muppet, like, why don't you two quit being a couple of pussies and do it at the same time?
Dude, it just so there's a viral. I'll have to send it to you later. There's a viral video of some person, whoever it might be, taking their hand out of Kermit the Frog and like throwing the Kermit puppet on the ground, and then all you see is the Kermit puppet with the giant hole like on his butt. But then Kermit looks around to see if anybody's there, even though like no hand is in there, and then he just lets it rip. It's like the loudest part. I would love that to be the death scene for Mental.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Just rips the loudest part.
Hall of Fame for career achievement. This is a category if there was a movie Hall of Fame. Would this movie be on their Hall of Fame plaque? Jim Carrey.
Okay, so he's done award-winning movies like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind,
Truman Show, Man on the Moon.
Yeah. So probably not this. I mean, as far as comedies go, maybe, but even then, like I think Ace Ventura is one of those movies that people gravitate towards too. So
my case is yes.
Okay.
My biggest case is like this is the cap on, as we talked about earlier, the probably one of the biggest years for an actor or a director in the history of film. The 3 number 1 box office hits. This one I think was the biggest of the 3. And after this, Jim Carrey could pretty much. I think he follow this up with The Cable Guy. Or was it Ace Ventura 2?
I don't remember. Well, in 95, he was the Riddler, but we don't count that.
No. Well, even then, though, I mean, like, he parlayed that. He became, like, he was a villain in a Batman movie.
Yeah.
He got the first $20 million paycheck in Hollywood for The Cable Guy.
Yeah.
I think this and Ace Ventura, it'd be between this and Ace Ventura is his most memorable characters. I actually personally like Lloyd better than Ace Ventura.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that, like, if it was just one Ace Ventura movie, I'd be cool with it. But the second one, even though it's funny, is Jim Carrey's trying too hard.
Yeah.
Ace Ventura 2.
I can see that.
And like it kind of really brings it down a little bit.
You're right. Yeah. You want to know something weird? And I know that I'm probably going to, I don't know, maybe somebody will shit on me for this, but
Nobody shits on this because nobody listens to this anyways.
The Truman Show is my favorite Jim Carrey film.
No, Truman Show's great. Like, I actually think that's probably his. I think it's my favorite dramatic role he's done. Some people are probably going to say it's Man on the Moon, because he really does channel Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, but I mean, even so, like, he's still very much Jim Carrey. He's allowed to do his silly Jim Carrey thing and still remain, like, you know, in a drama.
Mm. I'm still going to say it's Dumb and Dumber.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good with giving it to Dumb and Dumber.
Because, I mean, without Dumb and Dumber, he's not I don't think he's quite getting the Truman Show and Man on the Moon and stuff.
Yeah, no. Definitely not those. But yeah, you're right. Like, if we were to go later, like I said, like, he's won awards for Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but or at least the movie did. I don't know if he did specifically.
No, he hasn't won an Oscar or anything.
Yeah,
I think he got more. He had a better chance for Man on the Moon than he has anything else.
Yeah, no, you're right, and it's not necessarily comedy, but in this case, I think we're gonna have to, say yeah. I defer to you.
I'm going yes.
Okay.
Speaking of great 1994's, Jeff Daniels had Speed and Dumb and Dumber in the same year. Two of the biggest movies of that year. I don't know. I mean, this is probably the movie most people are going to remember him from. But it's kind of like the same thing you were talking about with Jim Carrey. Like, I would put on his Hall of Fame plaque, The Newsroom, the HBO series that he did, because he got so much critical acclaim. I think he won an Emmy for that. I know he was nominated numerous times. He did. He won 2013. He won the Emmy for Best Actor in a Dramatic Series.
Right.
So I would probably gravitate towards that, but I think it's either this, Speed, or Terms of Endearment. But because he's in that too, he's Deborah Winger's asshole husband.
Yeah. No, I think most people are going to gravitate towards this. So I'd say yeah for this. He's great in Speed, don't get me wrong. Which, he doesn't last very long in that.
Yeah, he has the greatest oh fuck I'm dead look in movie history.
Yeah, it's just like, oh god. Like,
fuck, I'm done.
Yeah.
So we're saying yeah for Jeff Daniels?
Yeah, I think so.
What about the Farrelly brothers? Interesting case. Their filmography is Dumb and Dumber, Kingpin. There's Something About Mary. There is Me, Myself, and Irene. There is Shallow Hal, which definitely isn't. That movie has not aged well at all. Green Book, which I'm not.
Yeah,
definitely not. But I'd say it's got to be one of those first four movies that they've done, because they never really they never hit the highs that after that. But
I think Something About Mary is probably going to be number one. The Dumb and Dumber is like close number two.
I would say There's Something About Mary too, simply because it was such a huge hit.
Yeah,
and it's probably. Well, it's definitely the last great comedy of the 90s. Because that came out in 99.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a nice bridge between kind of like the sophomore style humor that we got in the early 90s to the Apatow stuff that would come like a couple of years later. I'd say it'd have to be There's Something About Mary.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Dumb and Dumber didn't make it, but like I said, probably super close second.
Oh, for sure. For sure. What about 90s comedies?
Oh, man. It's got to be in top 5. I wouldn't put it at number 1. Trying to think of something that I would put at number 1. I really like Jim Carrey and a lot of stuff. Like Ace Ventura was great. And I think. Are you looking up 90s comedies to help you out? Because that's what I'm about to do.
I do have a list of the comedies of the 90s. It would have to be. There's Something About Mary would be on that list.
Yeah.
Let's see. Wayne's World, Groundhog Day.
Oh man, Groundhog Day is great.
They have Home Alone, but My Cousin Vinny.
It is a comedy, but
let's see here. They've got. Oh, this list fucking sucks.
Father of the Bride, which isn't like The Nutty Professor. Man, I remember when that came out. I wouldn't call Blast from the Past a comedy.
And it's definitely not one of the great comedies of the 90s.
No. Tommy Boy. Office Space. That's a cult classic. I wouldn't say that it was great when it was the 90s, but definitely gained some notoriety these days. Mrs. Doubtfire. Jeez. Mrs. Doubtfire probably makes the list, but
I think it would have to be Austin Powers. Either the first 2 Austin Powers, Dumb and Dumber, Office Space.
American Pie was in 99.
Yeah, American Pie was 99. Clueless would have to be on that list.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Boy, Wayne's World.
Robin Hood Men in Tights was in 93. That's definitely a good one. That's one of my favorites.
But I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
I think it's probably going to be on most people's top 5.
Yeah, it's definitely not. I don't think it's my number 1, but it's there. It's in the top 5 for sure.
Mm-hmm. Man, the 90s, great year for comedy. I was just looking at some of those movies on the list, damn, that's fucking good. Damn, that's good.
Yeah.
Damn, that's funny too. I just come across Friday. I love Friday.
Yeah.
Grumpy
Friday's
Old
good.
Men's on there. That was a good
Grumpy
one.
Old Men's great too.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think Dumb and Dumber would have to be on there.
Yep.
But that's all I had for Hall of Fame. I was thinking about adding the best shitting scene in a movie, but that's too far.
There are a couple of,
I didn't want to go researching that to find other ones because I was afraid it was going to take me down a rabbit hole I didn't want to go down.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that I can think of just off the top of my head, but you definitely don't want to go Googling that.
No, I'm not trying to get into those. That might take me down the 2 girls, 1 cup.
Oh God.
Yeah, I'm down that lane. And I'm nope, I'm staying here in the slow lane. Last category, the Finding Forrester You're the Man Now Dog Award for the biggest life lesson taken from this movie. For me, it's, hey, if a lady leaves her briefcase at the airport, just leave it because
it could be, ransom money.
Yeah. Let someone else take care of that.
And I'm sure somebody else would take care of it very quickly because it's not 1994. It's 2024. And, TSA would be on top of that.
Oh, somebody would have scooped. Yeah, they would have scooped that up already. Just I could see a briefcase being kind of laying flat, but when it's standing straight up like that I'm thinking a fucking bomb.
Yeah. Middle of the floor too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, TSA would have scooped that up in like 2 seconds. And I don't even think Mary makes it out of the airport. She doesn't make her flight to Aspen.
She just gets tackled, put on a no-fly list.
Yeah, it would be like more like that plot in that new Taron Egerton movie. That one just hit Netflix.
Oh yeah,
has him and Jason Bateman in it. Yeah, that's what that's what kind of movie you're getting in 2024. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. Thank you for listening. Please do us a favor if you like what you heard today. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. You can leave us a star review on there as well. Be sure to follow us on our social medias. Or the links to those are in the show description. We are coming back with another episode. We're going to try to do another one this week.
Yeah, we can crank that one out quick. I already got it all ready to go.
All right, we are going to crank out one more episode for the year, and then we're going to take a little break, enjoy the holidays with our family, and come back stronger than ever with some bangers at the first of the year. But we are going to do a Hall of Fame episode. We're going to do the Hall of Fame of Christmas movies.
Excellent.
We've kind of narrowed down the criteria. I don't know. Die Hard may or may not make this list. It's pretty much been in every Hall of Fame episode we've done. So you have to listen to find out whether it makes the list of this as well. So, just follow us on those social media links. That way you can find out when we're putting that one out, but it should be later in the week. So hope you guys enjoy. So until next time, we will talk to you guys and gals later.